The new generation of martial arts heroes in Wuwu Jianghu has opened a new chapter. Keywords of the novel. Wuwu Jianghu no pop-ups, Wuwu Jianghu TXT complete collection download, Wuwu Jianghu latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Mysterious people in secret scripts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Secret scripts. Mysterious people loneliness, downfall, no money, no friends, how many people can understand? Wuwu Jianghu is suitable for making movies and TV dramas. This novel is adapted in the following order. TV series, movies, games, storytelling, and physical books. Attention! A novel about the wandering and extraordinary heroes in the martial arts world. The identity of a prodigal, abnormal behavior, wandering aimlessly, engaging in chivalrous acts. You need to read carefully. The stories are all coherent, but the mini-map is particularly fast, with a jumping thinking style that requires brain teasers to be interesting. First of all, you see joy and see the heart in it. Don't take it out of context, stories are all coherent. I write word by word day and night. Thank you to Chidian for providing the platform. I am already very satisfied. This novel is light-hearted, humorous. You looked at me crying and laughing. There are shadows, people, and events that everyone has experienced. The plot resonates with your soul in many ways. People in the rivers and lakes, turbulent times, true or false or true, name and profit, love and hate, life and death, love and hatred. The hero is also lonely, howling in the sky and tears streaming down his face. Welcome to watch who can recite this poem. Seeking defeat alone is truly lonely. Beauty, you are really beautiful, look beautiful on the left and right. Look at beauty before, look at beauty after, you are really beautiful. Look up at beauty, look down at beauty, you are really beautiful. You are beautiful, you are even more beautiful, you are truly beautiful. You are really beautiful. Opening. Don't ask about matters in the martial arts world, you are already a member of the martial arts world. A new generation of martial arts, opening a new chapter. The martial arts world, the world without swords and shadows, is even more terrifying. Lightly, don't exert force. He carefully entered his mind to search for the long-sealed magical treasure box. Finally, a magical treasure box was discovered in the main pathway of brain cells. When the box was opened, something unexpected happened. I am an invincible sect without any sect. Justice and evil, what is a good person? What is a bad person? Modern stories, ancient writing methods, present the true thoughts of human hearts. Take off the mask, it is very scary. The story surprises you to an unexpected extent. The wind comes from the moon. According to modern theory, it's over 1 person tall, weighing over 100 pounds, and even heroes with their hair tied up are like this, not ugly or handsome, likes to wear white clothes, sometimes also black clothes, carrying his weapon, Xuankuan needle, flying with his tiptoe lightness skill, flying at a height of 60 zhang above the ground. The sparrow that flew directly into the sky is commonly known as the house sparrow. Chi-a-o, on my son's back, the sparrow knew nothing. There was an object on my back, and my martial arts skills were at their peak. The wind flew from the moon for a while, and I despised the sparrows for flying too slowly. Another passing eagle continued to fly, without any restrictions or traffic lights. Fly to your heart's content, whoosh. Whoosh. Whoosh really fast. Suddenly, I accidentally hit the big net for catching birds. The wind from the moon sees the situation is not good. I quickly climbed down the bird-catching net and even said something on the ground, but it startled my baby. The wind trembled from the moon, tidied up his clothes and weapons, hummed a tune, and walked to a mountain peak. There were several buildings halfway up the mountain. Knocking on the door, no one responds. Shake your body and enter the courtyard. There are more than 10 people in the courtyard looking at a treasure, and they all agree that it is the most satisfactory rare treasure we have created. It is a gift from the shovel to Bientian. he will definitely be very satisfied. Ha ha ha. Laughter spreads far away, and the valley hums back. It's a strange valley echo, playing backwards. Ha ha ha. I'm very satisfied with it. This is the long-lost technique of teasing you, exclusively enjoyed by the Hara sect and now commonly known as a patent. Feng Ziyue also laughed heartily and said, "What are you guys? The other 9 have very high martial arts skills." Unexpectedly, no one came to the scene. After a while, 9 people jumped up, the wind surrounded the moon, without saying a word, the 9-person palm and foot technique, and the wind and moon battle in one place, with all 9 people hanging on trees in 2 rounds. The 10th person appeared fiercely in front of him, and without saying a word, he shook his clothes and knelt down, saying, "Master, please accept me. I know the Hara sect, many secrets are all told to you, as long as you don't let me climb the tree." Feng Ziyue fulfilled the other person's wish and did not let them climb the tree. With a palm lift, they directly entered the water tank. As the wind blew by, a flying stone struck directly at Funyun's temple. A beam of needle light hits a stone, hitting the temple 1 centimeter away, and the beam exerts its power to shatter it. A person flying down from the sky clapped and cheered. "It was indeed you. What are you doing here for?" "That secret book is not with me, it has already been taken away by her people, and there are still 2 people who can use empty spells that no one can break. Do you feel like you can defeat them by obtaining the secret script?" Feng Ziyue saw these courtyards. It's not that simple. The heavenly mystery measures the earth and stores energy, all of which are presented in the secret script, especially the leg power of Bian Tian Pafeng Palm, which can hold a person to death at a distance of 20 zhang. Is he? Feng Ziyue laughed and said, "I just passed by and happened to be here. I said goodbye and turned around to leave. The fake edge of the sky and the wind-breaking palm leg are approaching, and the 2 are fighting together. Each of them did not use any weapons and used their palm and leg skills to fight for 20 rounds without any division. Bian Tian broke the wind palm leg and kicked towards Feng Ziyue's lower abdomen. The wind used a move from the moon and leaped up in half movements. Who knew that Bian Tian broke through the wind palm legs, and as he explored the way, he saw the wind passing by from the moon, pick up the shovel, a secret script spade in sunny days. It is fast and has great killing power. At first glance, Feng Ziyue saw that Bian Tian had done so many evil deeds that he was too rampant. His figure detached from his true martial arts and shattered Bian Tian in 8 pieces. A dozen or so people present were dumbfounded and scared, causing them to scatter and flee. The wind hasn't chased since the moon, so he picked up Bian Tian's shovel and looked carefully. "Ah, I was deceived. It's not Bian Tian. Where did Bian Tian go?" The wind descended the mountain from the moon to search, and walked into an ancient city with buildings resembling the shape of the 9 trigrams. The 6 main gates and side gates were all guarded by dedicated personnel. I felt a bit hungry by noon and found an inn where I could stay and also have food. A 5-story building is bustling with passenger flow. It sparked a battle of martial arts here. The wind rustled lightly from the moon's footsteps to the 4th floor. Finding a spacious and bright window position, you can see pedestrians coming and going on the other side of the street, all kinds of small business vendors, showing off their skills. There are also officials and beggars begging for food. The height of the building opposite the window is uneven, and there is also a martial arts training ground in the distance where many people exchange ideas. Feng Ziyue, a wealthy person, ordered a sumptuous banquet and a pound of wine. After a while, the food and drinks were served, and a person was tasting delicious food and drinking small wine, looking out the window at the beautiful scenery. The weather is refreshing and pleasant, and the drinks are a bit spicy, drinking alcohol and making a sizzling sound. The wind from the moon was eating at the moment of joy, and the streets were in chaos. The sound was getting louder and louder, and I looked up outside. There is a group of people wearing black robes, a person with a veil and a mask that only reveals their eyeballs, holding a uniquely shaped weapon in their hand. It looks like a cow's horn with 3 iron rings connected, carrying 3 prisoners' carriages, all young women reluctantly tied up. The wind called the waiter to pay the bill from the moon, and he rose up lightly like a swallow along the window. Follow these masked black-clothed people, take a look at where these people are staying, educate them well, and save these innocent girls. In broad daylight, the sky is clear and the sky is clear. It's despicable to forcibly rob a commoner's daughter. Watching the masked man in black, he escorts the car through the main street and then turns left and right through many alleys. I arrived at the foot of a mountain and entered the Dazai. The Dazai mountain was built with stones, and the trees were emitting black and red smoke. Many people stood guard and watched, all black-clad masked people, wielding ox-horn iron ring weapons, were shouting and shouting in the mountain fortress, sometimes burst into laughter and entered an ancient building. The wind, like a dragonfly skimming the water from the moon, flew to the eaves of the Shanzhai to sneak a peek inside, and all the girls caught stood in a row. A man in his 50s nodded and said, "You did a good job, I will reward you." Those subordinates shouted in unison, thanking the leader of the fire demon sect. The leader of the fire demon sect laughed heartily. Feng Ziyue was taken aback for a moment. It turned out to be him. Wasn't he dead? Why are you still alive? He was the one who secretly attacked and killed the factions Wu Jiu back then. The fire demon's eyes pressed against one of the girls, and his speed was too fast. His eyes blinked and the girl was caught by the fire demon. The girl quickly stopped moving as she exhaled black smoke from her mouth. The fire demon threw the woman into the air and drifted away with the wind, greatly increasing its ability to absorb true qi. The fire demon's eyes emit a black and red light, and the strange rocks on the mountain fortress tree head emit black and red smoke, which is caused by practicing martial arts. A few girls were so scared that they fainted, a few cried and knelt down begging for mercy, and the fire demon disciples were also very scared. Feng Ziyue couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to stab his enemy quickly. Unexpectedly, a person suddenly flew in and slapped the fire demon's face. The fire demon used a move to dodge the main shadow line with a palm. His subordinates swung the horn iron ring, surround the woman in white in formation. The woman in white is extremely beautiful, carrying a weapon and grabbing a fork. She is a martial arts expert with every move and try. His eyes exuded a cold and murderous aura, and Shenren's laughter sounded particularly chilling. Everyone present didn't know this person, and they fought in one place without speaking. In the blink of an eye, these black-clad people, killed by a woman's unique skill. The fire demon never allows anyone to be reckless in their own territory. The fire demon uses the magic blood technique. I got into a fight with the woman in white. Although the woman in white has high martial arts skills, slightly lacking in front of the fire demon, the white-clad woman in just over 20 rounds, it's a bit overwhelming. With 3 hidden weapons at the cuffs, the fire demon used the main shadow dart to emit, just behind the woman in white. She slapped the woman and spat out blood, then fell to the ground and was pointed at her acupoint. It's easy for the fire demon to kill her. He didn't do that. He wants to know who this person is. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The Magic Road. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The Magic Road. Feng Ziyue will not stand idly by, rubbing and jumping into the courtyard, saying, "The fire demon is so rampant that the young master has arrived." Before he could finish speaking, he walked briskly into the hall of the room, where the fire demon stood in front of the woman in white, about to interrogate her. Hearing someone shout their name, I turned around and saw the other person in front of me. Fire demon flash, take a few steps back. Who are you? Feng Ziyue looked at the fire demon and laughed heartily. You don't deserve to know who I am. I didn't expect you to be still alive. I accidentally found you here. You're sucking blood to practice and killing too many innocent women. Today I want you to pay back the debt with blood. The fire demon doesn't even care about Feng Ziyue. How could he know her strength? The fire demon did not act recklessly. The archer clenched his fists. And my friend, you and I do not know each other. There is no hatred for taking away a wife or killing a father. Why bother meddling in your affairs? You want to be short of silver and weapons. Open your mouth, I have plenty here. I'm sure you're satisfied. Do you think so? Feng Ziyue is a person with exceptional martial arts skills, but fortunately he is humorous and witty. He was also quite happy to hear the fire demon say so. Speaking of which, as long as you give me two things, Fire Demon, I will turn around and leave as if I haven't seen them. What do you want? I want the Fire Shadow Sword and Sword Manual. Who the hell are you when the Fire Demon hears about you? You are too ignorant of the vastness of heaven and earth. You don't even have the qualifications to read the Fire Shadow Sword and Sword Manual. The Fire Demon's words are not without reason. The Fire Shadow Sword is a precious sword used by the sword Saint Yunxingzun, which cuts iron like mud. Everyone in the martial arts world wants to cut gold and jade. Using this sword to learn the sword manual, few people in the world can win. It is said that the sword manual was split into two parts, and two people took it separately. Their whereabouts are unknown. The Fire Demon has obtained the Fire Shadow Sword and half of the sword manual, but has not been refined yet and has gone crazy. The Fire Shadow Sword and Sword Manual have been stolen by experts for a long time. The Fire Demon didn't have enough blood to drink today, and his magic was broken. His eyes were black and only red, and he was rushing to grab a woman with a bloody mouth. In addition to the needle, Feng Ziyue's weapon also has a flying grab, which runs towards the back of the Fire Demon's head and grabs it. The Fire Demon had to dodge and didn't catch the woman. In a fit of anger and desperation, he unleashed his main shadow movement, his palms wielding a fierce wind from the moon gate. The wind dodged the moon and heard a click. Looking back at the entrance of the hall, a row of stone walls turned into powder. It is indeed impressive, but we cannot take it lightly. The wind from the moon thought to itself, we can't procrastinate too much here, he still has a lot of things to do. With just a flick of his finger, the needle was unsheathed, and a flash of light flashed in the hall. The wind from the moon used a move to guide the needle and thread, causing the Fire Demon to spit out blood at the mouth, almost making you unable to hold on and fall down. He knew who Feng Ziyue was and dared not engage in battle. He shot 5 poison beads at a woman who did not understand martial arts. In order to save people, Feng Ziyue took advantage of the situation and the Fire Demon fled. Feng Ziyue brought out the woman in white from the scene, and then went to other rooms in the courtyard to search for any women. At this time, the copycat personnel, seeing the Fire Demon run away, they were all afraid of death, scattered and fled, and there were still a few who hadn't come yet, caught by the wind and moon. The other party was so scared that they knelt down and begged for mercy. If you spare, you can. Tell me quickly that there are still women hidden in the mountain fortress. To be honest, all of them died. The Fire Demon disciples said there was a cave in the back mountain, and where were all the women locked up. The disciples led the way to the back mountain and opened the stone gate, releasing all the women inside. Feng Ziyue personally escorted them to the main street and each went home. The woman in white watched as Feng Ziyue remained silent. Feng Ziyue was not familiar with the other party, and there was a difference between men and women. After bidding farewell, she turned around and left. The woman in white shouted, "Thank you for your life-saving kindness, Duke N. May I ask your name?" Feng Ziyue is well aware of the dangers in the martial arts world and does not want to leave her name. I have no comment on the girl's name, so you can leave too. The woman suddenly burst out laughing, and hearing the laughter at night scared even the timid to death. Feng Ziyue, you don't know me, but I do know you. Feng Ziyue was startled. Who exactly is this woman? You got the wrong person. Who is Feng Ziyue? So let me ask you, are you looking for a secret recipe that suits you? Feng Ziyue ignored and left, and the woman didn't say much and left without shaking her sleeves. The wind moved southeast from the city to Dugu Mountain, and before leaving the city, it bought a broken bowl, with a torn hat and clothes. It looks like a beggar. Where there are more people going when others ask for food, and where there are fewer people going when this person asks for food, I often don't rush or slow down, but I am humorous and fight against injustice. The wind travels at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour from the foot of the moon, and it doesn't take much time to go out for 30 kilometers. To rest, we need to find a tea house to drink some water. This is a big town with a lot of business and vendors, bustling with traffic. There is a high-end tea house decorated just at the entrance of the town. Feng Ziyue entered the door and headed straight to the second floor. Just as he was about to go upstairs, he was stopped by a waiter. "The beggar from there, is this where you entered? Get out, get out, get out. The wind from the moon looks down on people with a dog's eye, educating you bastards." Feng Ziyue picked up the broom with ease, and with a gentle shake of the broom, it flew towards the bar and knocked down all the water bottles. The guy shouted that someone was coming to cause trouble. 5 or 6 big men came and rolled their arms and sleeves. It looked like ordinary people would definitely be disabled. It's normal for these people not to engage in romantic activities, but they ended up fighting when they rushed forward. They had a lot of fun and didn't even know what had happened, standing still with their heads thrust down on the ground. A few people slapped each other, but it was loud. Feng Ziyue saw another guy who was normal. "Why don't you give it a try?" The other person's pants are so scared that they get wet, their legs and stomach are twitching and trembling, and they can't even speak clearly. "Master, spare your life." Feng Ziyue told the guys to kick them hard a few times in a while. They were fine, holding broken bowls and laughing heartily, leaving the tea house without a trace. "I heard that Benji old man is nearby. Is there a Qingta temple there?" Asking passers-by, after 15 miles ahead, when Feng Ziyue arrived at the Qingta temple, it seemed unlikely that something would happen. The temple was in a mess, with casualties scattered in all directions. Feng looked in the backyard of Yueqian to see if anyone was alive, but Benji couldn't find them. There was a person at the entrance who still had a faint breath, slowly crawling. The wind asked before the moon, "Who did it?" The apprentice said slightly that it was the Xianyuan sect who poisoned and kidnapped the master. "In the highest mountain ahead, there are also secrets in Master. Feng Ziyue quickly asks where the secret script is. "I'm out of breath." Feng Ziyue dug a pit and buried the on-site personnel, gritted his teeth and went to the Xianyuan sect to rescue them. The high mountain was not far from here. Skilled in point-to-point lightness skills, rubbed a few times and reached the halfway up the mountain, looking around. After searching carefully for half a day, I finally found a narrow path on the side of the mountain. There is a tree stump with a stone at the top that writes the forbidden area of the Xianyuan sect. These places have a lot of hidden mechanisms and weapons lurking. Feng Ziyue was eager to save people and used the main shadow flying technique to break through the formation and enter the Xianyuan sect. Approaching here, the air conditioning is overwhelming and strange rocks are constantly emerging, with various eerie roars. Just entered a few meters away and simultaneously fired hidden weapons on all sides. The stone ball collided and exploded. The wind rises from the moon and flies past the stone ball. He drew several flying swords again, took out his flying grab, spun around to protect his body, and the flying sword fell into the air. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Stepping into Forbidden Areas. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Stepping into forbidden areas. The wind thinks of him from the moon. What can this little trick do to me? With a vertical movement in the air, fly towards a large tree and step on the head of a branch. The top of the slender branch remains intact, indicating that the wind and moon lightness skill surpasses that of ordinary people. There must be a building ahead that is the ancestral home of the Xianyuan sect. Slowly approach. 7 people came out of the forest 5 meters away and blocked the way, all dressed in white. There were 6 young women, like flowers and jade, holding long swords in their hands. There was also an old witch among the crowd who was extremely ugly, with green hair and bulging eyes that were about to fall out, with a short nose, a trumpet-like mouth, a short stature, and a hunchback. I was scared to death when I saw anyone timid at night. It was like a living ghost. He is very short and holds a machete in his hand. He shakes as he walks, but his voice is very clear. Old witch, hello. The wild boy from there is quite brave and dares to break into the forbidden area. It seems that you have lived enough. Feng Ziyue saw that those girls were quite beautiful, and when she saw the venerable appearance of the old witch, she laughed so hard that her stomach hurt, pointing at the old witch and saying, "What kind of monster are you? Hurry up, report your name quickly." These few words have infuriated the old witch. With a command, the disciples have observed the enemy's formation for me. I will tear him up and feed him to the dog. The old witch held a curved blade in her hand and jumped up over 2 zhang high in the air. The curved blade carried a whirlwind away from her hand. The wind blows from the lower abdomen of the moon, and the old witch's curved sword changes endlessly. Feng Ziyue dodged one move and followed the next one closely, adding palm to the sword. Feng Ziyue discovered that the old witch's palm was green. The evil Wei has cultivated a highly poisonous palm technique, which will undoubtedly lead to death if attacked. Feng Ziyue dare not take it lightly. Knowing that this person is not easy, he needs to save the elderly as soon as possible. It can't be delayed for too long. If it really doesn't work, leaving is the best policy. With a flick of Feng Ziyue's finger, the back of the body, needle, and sheath were removed, and the two of them fought for 10 rounds. Feng Ziyue used a technique to separate the needle body. The weapon he used is one of the few treasures in history. It is a needle-shaped, with a needle tip resembling a needle nose. Not everyone is suitable to use this weapon, although it is a peerless treasure. To control the needle, one must have one of the best martial arts skills in the world. The needle technique changes brilliantly, and the technique of threading the needle has not yet been broken by anyone. There is a thin thread several hundred meters long at the tip of the needle. This silk is made of special materials that cannot be cut, and there is also a set of tactics, such as sealing the divine needle net that will perish if touched. The wind and moon are rarely used, and there are too many casualties, which is also what the master instructed. The separation of the needle body is done by pulling it with thread, so it cannot fall off. Pierce the old witch's curved sword and stab it on the rock wall of the mountain peak. The old witch has no weapons. Use the highly poisonous green palm to continuously attack and defeat her. The wind is still a bit challenging since the moon. I don't want her to die yet. When hesitating, how did I know that the old witch's poison palm had been collected and she would strike a unique hidden weapon similar to the size of an apricot kernel? There are too many hidden weapons, and the wind blows from the shoulder of the moon. Cover the wound and fall to the ground. The old witch laughed heartily, and the disciples gathered their bodies back to the city. You're still talking about wanting to break into the Xian Yuan sect just for a few moments. Idiotic delusions. Don't lift me up yet. Let's see if I'm dead. The old witch looked up 2 meters away from the wind and the moon. The wind jumped up from the moon and slapped the old witch. The old witch fought 3 zhang away, spitting blood in her mouth without waking up. Feng Ziyue only used 4 successful powers and had no intention of killing her. That's enough. Carried away by several disciples for treatment. Why did Feng Ziyue not die from poisoning? And it's okay. He has a beam divine stone on his body that can avoid severe poison. This disturbance has alarmed the Xianyuan sect, disciples, and sect leaders. They have already cleaned up the snake. No matter how high the martial arts of Feng Ziyue are, it is impossible to kill everyone. If you provoke the Xianyuan sect and then kill the Benji old man, it will be troublesome and all your previous efforts will be in vain. The wind has flown and disappeared from the Xianyuan sect since the 3rd leap of the moon. The plan is ready. Night exploration Xianyuan sect. The night is as clear as ever. The night is hazy and the wild wind is blowing, and the trees and rocks make strange noises. Feng Ziyue neatly organized her top all over her body, tightened her belt, carried Xuankuan needles and grabbed them with flying claws, and after a few strokes, she arrived at the Xianyuan sect's lair. In the middle of the night, the lights were brightly lit and there were many people in the outer courtyard, patrolling and watching with machetes in hand. Seeing a large hall in the center of the courtyard, with many people coming and going, the voice of the speaker is in a southern and northern tone, often accompanied by a burst of laughter. The wind hung upside down from the moon, and no one noticed it on the stone pillars at the entrance of the hall. I saw many people in the hall, all acquaintances who had been dealt with before, with 4 to 5 or 10 people present, sitting on the center chair. It's the Xianyuan sect leader who wraps the wheels. This guy is so powerful. Xuanhu, using a Xianyuan treasure sword in his hand. His palm technique is unique, ruthless and ruthless, even with fire palms. When he strikes his palm technique, he sees rows of red light appearing one after another. It's actually caused by the extremely fast palm technique speed. On the left and right are his two brothers, one Bao Yu and the other Bao Ji, both of whom use weapons and machetes. There are still a few familiar ones, including Fire Demon, Lu Hongjiu, Zhen Biantian, Xiao Haolang, Horizontal Demon, and Evil Dao Jiren. There is also that ugly old witch, and there is still a part that I don't know. I won't introduce them one by one here, and they will appear one by one in the future. It seems like we are discussing something. Upon closer inspection, we heard about how the basic elderly person would handle it, but we couldn't find the secret script. The old witch was about to become disabled even if she didn't die. She was supported by her disciple and walked forward to speak. Everyone should pay more attention. Our Xianyuan sect has a sect leader and various experts present, and no one can save the basic elderly. We also need to be more vigilant. During the day, a young man arrived with immeasurable martial arts skills. I almost got killed, especially with that weapon that's special, like a needle. Before he could finish speaking, he heard someone exclaim and his body trembled. It turned out to be him, and everyone turned their gaze to the fire demon. The fire demon and the wind had a fight since the moon, and he was very scared when he mentioned this person. Feng Ziyue used Shadow Xingong and hit him with one move, causing him to vomit blood. He took the opportunity to escape, otherwise he would have died. The fire demon said, the leader of the sect has an unknown origin and excellent martial arts skills. Why don't we release the basic old man? The leader laughed heartily. An unknown person is afraid of his usefulness, and other sect leaders shout out, afraid of his usefulness. When they come, they call him to divide the body into 5 horses. The sect leader's divine skill is invincible in the world. Everyone shouted, the leader's divine skill is invincible in the world. The leader is a beauty, laughing even more wildly, ha ha ha. Suddenly, an object flew in from outside, and everyone present was afraid it was a hidden weapon, so they all flashed, staring intently. It's not that the hidden weapon is a disciple who was thrown in by someone else. How angry the wind from the moon is neither tight nor slow, and happily enters the hall. Alas, on what day are you all around today? The fire demon's legs trembled when he saw the real person, and the old witch quickly retreated. The leader of the Xianyuan sect, Bao Wheel, was also surprised. No one noticed him when he came in. Everyone present is pulling their weapons and preparing to fight. Several people are considered swordsmen in the martial arts world, all of whom are defeated generals under Feng Ziyue. Stepping back is not a fear of death. The few of them know that the wind will come from the moon. The Xianyuan sect has lost its momentum. The 2 leaders of Xianyuan sect seem to be alone and have suppressed everyone. They don't know each other either. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. One Sword Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. One Sword Technique. I don't know if the wind is strong since the moon. Bao Yu didn't say hello and was holding a machete. He jumped up and was about to chop his head. The wind moved gently from the original position of the moon, only to see Bao Yu fall to the ground and die. When Bao Ji saw that his second brother was dead, he came up crying and worked hard. He died faster these 2 times, and in the blink of an eye, he passed away to that world. A few people present were so scared that they pulled their pants inside. Don't mention the unpleasant smell in the hall. The sect leader loudly said, which hero is present to fight this person? When the time came to fight, there were a few people snoring and pretending to sleep. A few climbed onto the beams of the house, while many retreated. The leader sighed and said, who are you? Can you sign up? Feng Ziyue said, you all don't deserve to know who I am. As long as you hand over the basic old man, I'll give you a way to survive, otherwise all of you will die. How could the leader of the Xianyuan sect tolerate these things? Papa Pa Pa is like a series of fire palms, pop 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 pop. Speed fly up and down. Feng Ziyue also used his shadow action skill to fight, and this sect leader is not easily defeated, especially after 20 rounds of Hulian Palm without a winner. He wrapped his wheels and took out the Xianyuan sword from his waist. The wind travels from the moon to the family, you see, it is a rare treasure. Feng Ziyue's finger flicked the needle out of its sheath, and the sword was ready to explode with just one touch. Xianyuan Sword Technique. One sword is divided into multiple swords to attack Feng Ziyue. Feng Ziyue's mouth is still saying, "Slow down and kill me, don't worry, speak up." Baoru became even more angry. Xianyuan's sword passed by, and stones and wood turned into ashes. His swordsmanship was superb, and his moves were fast. Feng Ziyue is also careful when dealing with it. When it comes to fighting for dozens of rounds, you must be careful. When it comes to threading needles, the needle light flashes. Using the power of palm techniques, the Xianyuan sword was shot down and the person was also struck by the wind and moon palm power. The head of the Xianyuan sect retreated a few steps and the Xianyuan sword landed. Feng Ziyue did not kill him, it was to save the elderly Benji. The most important thing is that Feng Ziyue has no confidence in whether or not to win the wheel. This is just a winning move, the two of them have equal martial arts skills. The disciples and sect leaders of the Xianyuan sect are not very evil people, so please forgive them. The disciples of the Xianyuan sect and visitors from other sects hurriedly stepped forward to help up the wrapped wheel, but failed in front of everyone's eyes. Give up, why does the wind come from the moon? Feng Ziyue did not conceal it. The original elderly person came to save others by his own elders. Everyone didn't speak and looked at the leader. How to deal with it? Baoluan knew that the opponent's martial arts were unfathomable, and he didn't know who Feng Ziyue was. He didn't dare to act recklessly. Instruct the disciple to bring Benji Old Man to the scene. Benji Old Man was captured by a surprise attack. It is impossible to achieve it by force. The Xianyuan sect locked the Benji Old Man in a huge stone cave. There are many very thick stone pillars inside the cave, an iron chain composed of 8 large iron rings connected in 8 directions, with a large spherical iron cage suspended in the middle. The spherical iron cage has a large deep water pool, with a stone platform suspended in the middle of the pool. Ignite the stone platform with kerosene, burning trees, heating the stone platform, and grilling the old man in. The iron cage. Basic elderly people have the ability to protect their bodies, that was also tormented to death. Inside an iron cage, also use a thick iron ring to wrap around the hands and feet of the elderly. The old man in Benji shouted loudly, and the water in the pool surged up to a height of 10 feet, frightening the people guarding the cave and afraid to approach. All exit the stone prison and close the door tightly. The leader of Xianyuan sect ordered the release of people, but a few disciples came to the stone prison to retrieve them, but were stopped by the stone prison people. Hurry up and report to the sect leader. The old man inside is crazy. Actually, the elderly are angry. Has the elderly person of Benji changed when they hear someone say they want to raise someone? In the room, 3 times, pretending to be dead. The disciples at the door heard the sound. Looking inside, the people inside the iron ball stopped moving and it was difficult for everyone to approach. Later on, some bold people said that they must have been knocked unconscious by the fire. The disciples put the Benji old man into another iron ball, and more than 20 people carried the iron ball to the front hall. Feng Ziyue saw the old man of Benji, tormented like a human. I wish I could kill all the Xianyuan sect. How could so many people be? Running to the iron cage and shouting, "The old man, wake up quickly." The old man pretended to be dead, and as soon as he heard the familiar voice, he saw the wind rising from the moon. "Child, it's you." "Yes, it's me, I'm fine, you need to figure out a way to get out together as soon as possible," the wind from the moon said to the wheel. "Master, let me go." The leader waved his hand and the disciples released the Benji old man. The Xianyuan sect doesn't want to form too many enemies either. Feng Ziyue and Benji old man left the Xianyuan sect and found an open space in a dense forest for 2 people to rest. Feng Ziyue explained the matter from beginning to end, and it was his master who arranged for him to go out of the mountain to find Benji old man. There is one more thing that needs to be done by every means possible. If it falls into the hands of thieves, the entire martial arts world will face catastrophic consequences, equivalent to the most lethal weapon. Nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, atomic bomb formulas fall into the hands of terrorists. How much more can the world exist if they produce in large quantities and carry out terrorist attacks without considering the consequences? It's very scary. the wind searches for the moon. The production process of modern nuclear weapons and atomic bombs has lost core data, so in order to save humanity, there must be a just existence. After listening, Benji nodded and said, "Child, hurry up and find someone. He is at the top of the southern slope, that's where your martial arts master practices. Kuan Ding needs to go find him, the holy ancestor of the needle." As he spoke, the old man's 7 orifices were bleeding and he died. Feng Ziyue took out a pill for medical treatment, but it was of no use. The water in the stone dungeon where the Benji old man was locked was highly toxic, and when the fire burned and made people sweat, the poison gas penetrated their bodies and became colorless and odorless. The wind found a sunny place on the mountain slope from the moon and buried the old man, crying uncontrollably. Heart says this grudge should be recorded first, it will be settled sooner or later. Where is the top of the southern slope? The wind and moon can only be known by inquiring about the city first, and rushing down the mountain road towards the city. The wind from the moon heard from all directions and watched from all directions. After walking for a while, it felt like someone was following behind, soaring up and quickly shaking off the pursuer. The person following her saw that the person in front was missing, so she searched in the woods. The wind from the moon's body pressed against the top of the tree, watching the visitors, who were dressed in white clothes and looked extremely beautiful. It's just a woman using a grappling fork, her eyes killing all kinds of light. This woman is the one who fought against the fire demon and saved those innocent girls. Feng Ziyue doesn't know her. Why are you following her? We must figure it out today. The wind, like lightning from the sky, approached the woman from the moon. Why are you following me? The wind appeared too quickly from the moon, scaring the woman in white and taking a few steps back. She remained calm and laughed heartily. I think you are quite pleasing to the eye. I want to recognize you as my little brother, that's the reason for tracking. Feng Ziyue thinks about how old you are, and recognizes me as my little brother. However, I feel that this woman is not simple, especially with the use of her weapon, the grappling fork, which is superb. His master is by no means an ordinary person, and he has no ill intentions towards himself. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Dugu Yidao Wooden Box. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Dugu Yidao Wooden Box. It's not bad to have such a helper. Feng Ziyue is a witty and humorous person. It's still very bad. He really agreed to be a little brother. 2 people went to the city together and stayed at an inn, with 2 rooms adjacent to each other. The wind howled from the moon's belly. Probably the woman was also very hungry. A sumptuous banquet was ordered, with Feng Ziyue drinking alone and the woman drinking tea. 2 people are really starving and can't care who they are anymore. Swallowing the remnants of the storm like a wolf, a table of dishes was eaten clean. 3 guys looked at these 2 guys who looked like they were eating, their eyes wide open in amazement, staring at them both. I thought to myself, haven't these 2 eaten for a month? After drinking and eating, I had a full burp since the moon, and even when I opened my mouth, I could see the food. After ordering a pot of tea, the 2 of them started chatting. The woman turned out to be the junior brother of Qingfeng sect and Piaojuanyao. The Qingfeng sect is a bit arrogant and disdainful of other sects, with little interaction and no enmity. The relationship with the non-sectarian sect is very good, and the Qingfeng sect is good at using flying forks. The head of the flying fork is a V character. There is a handle that can be extended and retracted, and a long iron chain made of special materials at the tail. In 1 round, the enemy cannot approach within 1 zhang. The woman's name is Pia Salan, and she has been practicing martial arts with her master since the age of 8. In winter and summer, a girl puts in as much effort and sweat as a boy, and her master teaches her disciples how to learn. Pia Salan has been studying for 10 years, and her body is integrated with the use of the gripper. In her hands, it is as easy and effortless as a toy. The master also taught her the Qingfeng sect, the exclusive 30.6 roots of Qingfeng whirlwind legs. The moves of whirlwind legs change quite quickly. The whirlwind leg really needs to be refined, similar to the speed of the engine fan in modern society. As soon as a person is kicked, they will be dismembered immediately. Pia Salan has a solitary personality and is ruthless, but she never indiscriminately kills innocent people. She is an orphan, adopted by her master. Now, the leader of the Qingfeng sect cannot explain whether this person is good or bad. We will explain later. The leader of the Qingfeng sect is a demon, and there are only 3 people in the world who know his true identity. One of them is Feng Ziyue, martial uncle, Kuandingda, the needle saint ancestor knows. The leader of the Qingfeng sect often talks to Pia Sa Lan about a rising star in the martial arts world who few people can win. It means the wind comes from the moon. Pia Sa Lan has never seen Feng Ziyue, but knowing him using weapons, one can guess that it is basically Feng Ziyue. It's not surprising to be able to call out the name of Feng Ziyue. The wind is blowing from the moon, and the orchids are a bit tired. The 2 of them finished washing up and went to rest. According to modern time calculations, around 3:30 p.m. in the second half of the night, when people sleep more soundly and fall asleep, when Feng Ziyue was sleeping in a daze, he felt a burning sensation and thought he was dreaming that flames were rising, burned to the fingertips, woke up with a startle, and used an empty stomach escape technique. Upon arriving at the window and taking a closer look, the location of the fire was a continuous dart. Put out the fire, take off the dart, and take a closer look. Darts are made of iron and engraved with words. It's a joke about Feng Ziyue, who wrote that the needle has been stolen, yet he doesn't know who the successor of the needle is. It's ridiculous. Feng Ziyue quickly looked at Xuanquan's needle. It's long gone. Angry and helpless. He really doesn't know when this person will steal the Xuanquan needle. This person is by no means an ordinary person. It is unclear whether they are enemies or friends. Turning around, I'm going to the next room to see if Pia Sa Lan is okay. Just as I turned around, a dart came with the wind moved from the moon's body method, and the dart pierced the top of the bed pillar. Take it down and take a look, written with, take the Xuanquan needle to Gu Yidao, Jinjuan Upper Court. The wind chased after the moon without seeing anyone's trace. The neighboring Pia Sa Lan was also startled and woke up, holding a fork to see the wind from the moon. Feng Ziyue recounted the story once. Afraid of danger, I decided to go alone to the Wujing Academy to meet this mysterious person for a while. Pia Sa Lan shook her head tightly. You are my little brother. How can I trust you to go alone, with multiple people taking care of you? Let's go together. The greeting route between the 2 and the shopkeeper was good. The shopkeeper explained the walking route in detail, fearing that the 2 of them might not be able to find it. I also drew a sketch, 2 miles away from here, and the 2 of them had high lightness skills. They arrived at Wujing Academy in a moment. The 2 of them looked at the Wujing courtyard. The walls were 2 zhang high and the courtyard occupied a particularly large area. The red-painted gate was left unattended, and we walked around the courtyard. This place is very special, with 8 doors, each with a strange shape and several monster heads on each door. The monster's eyes were constantly moving and its mouth was emitting yellow smoke. The 2 of them didn't dare to act recklessly and were afraid of being ambushed. Feng Ziyue and Pia Shalan exchanged eye contact, and the 2 soared over 5 zhang high, landing on the courtyard, the highest roof, and a towering tree. Wujing courtyard is quiet, so quiet that no one is afraid. The courtyard has 3 floors, and the architecture is very unique. The 3-story courtyard is elliptical in shape, layer by layer. The smallest courtyard has 3 huge iron balls stacked together in the middle. There is a stone plate at the top of the iron ball, and one person sits on the top of the plate. I can't see my face clearly from too far away, only wearing tattered clothes. This person's voice can penetrate through stone and iron walls. Why do you need to stay on the house and tree when you 2 come? Come on, come on, come on here, and after speaking, laugh out loud. Laughter is more terrifying than a night owl's meow. The 2 of them flew down and jumped. When Feng Ziyue and Pia Sa Lan heard the shouting sound, they knew that this person knew how to shout with cold blood. Ordinary people have long been shocked to death upon hearing this. Hold the weapon in the opponent's hand and speak respectfully to them. The wind spoke up from the moon. May I ask where the divine has taken my weapon? It's because I'm not proficient in learning, my personal belongings were not properly protected. I'm laughing, I followed the instructions to retrieve it, and I hope it will be returned." The other party suddenly stood up and laughed heartily, saying, "The wind blows from the moon, and you point to a pair of rice barrels and Pia Salon. How can rice barrels still wander the world? It's better to go home and feed the pigs," and then burst out laughing. Pia Salon doesn't believe in evil. No matter who you are, take out the fork and you will fight against the opponent's monster. Why is it called a weirdo? The wind fluttering from the moon and the orchids were all seen and surprised. This person is a child, looking at most around 14 years old, with one eye, slender and tall, constant eyebrows, small eyeballs, square mouth, few teeth left, and a big nose, wearing a tattered gray robe, wearing grass shoes, with a purple gold rope wrapped around the waist. This rope is not an ordinary rope, it is made of metal, and there is no descendant who can use this rope. Only this person in the world can use it. Sweeping the martial arts world, the wind flutters from the moon and the orchid shines strangely. Why is this person so young and capable of using cold-blood raw divine skill? The wind stops the fluttering orchids from the moon, so it's better to speak up. Getting the weapons back is the right thing, not for the sake of war. The other party nodded and laughed heartily as the rice bucket was not yet a rice bucket. Feng Ziyue couldn't understand, and the other party kept saying the same thing, "Follow me, the three of you come to the second academy." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Divine Beasts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Divine Beasts. The person pushed open the door, the wind tugged at the fluttering orchid from the moon, speaking with eyes, being careful of ambushing hidden weapons. Who knew that at the moment when the wind and moon were dragging the orchids, the other party burst into laughter, reassured that there were no ambush weapons. The other person's ears can understand the eyes of others, and this martial arts skill is the pinnacle. This person's martial arts skills are profound, unpredictable, and mysterious. Master Feng Ziyue must be willing to bow down to the wind. Approaching the center of the hall, there was a long table that had been wiped clean and placed with 2 plaques. There was also someone who had just offered incense. "Kneel down the barrel, kneel down quickly." Feng Ziyue looked at the other person without kneeling or speaking, then the other party said a paragraph, and Feng Ziyue knelt down, crying bitterly. What is enshrined is the plaque of Feng Ziyue's biological parents. The other party told Feng Ziyue and the others not to go to the top of the southern slope to look. Kuandingda Needle Saint Ancestor, no one knows where he went. He was asked to do something immediately. The borderless Great Dharma formation map of the 5 unique factions in the past was obtained by City 1 Country. We are currently planning a plan to kill everyone in my direction, and only this formation can achieve all of this, so the wind and moon must retrieve the boundless array diagram. Returning the Xuankuan needle to Feng Ziyue, I also gave a very small and thin bamboo tube with a button that can be used when I'm not proud. The bamboo tube stays with you, and the poisonous gas and hidden weapons it emits will not harm you. The explanation is completed. You two can go out. There's no need to jump over the wall, go through the main door. The 2 of them bowed their hands and left the Wujing courtyard. The wind, half believing and half doubting from the moon, rushed to the top of the southern slope and asked everyone, saying that they had never seen it before. Kuan was determined to be the holy ancestor of the needle. After discussing with Pia Salon, take a risky trip to the city and country to check if it is true. When the wind left the courtyard with the moon and the fluttering orchids, the strange man's hand trembled lightly, and the birds flying over the roof. In an instant, he was caught in his hand, pulled out a feather, and a bundle of blood flowed out from the bird's body, using feathers on a piece of rag. I wrote a paragraph with 2 fingers and 1 clip, blowing feathers with my mouth like a living creature flying towards the wind and moon. The wind and moon also revealed their unique skills. With feathers at most 15 centimeters away from them, use 1 move of body illusion reflection, faster than a person blinking, and firmly suck on the feather with your eyes. We ordinary people blink and blink. It's impossible for us to hold on to objects. The eyelids are still close to the eyeballs, and the eyes can't stand the strong wind blowing sand, let alone feathers. The wind can be easily achieved from the moon, which is the difference between mortals and heroes. The strange person was clearly stunned for a moment and laughed heartily. Speaking of how to play even when the bucket is full, this is something that can be taught. The strange man shook his sleeves and turned to walk towards a rockery, with a pair of sparkling eyes staring at the strange man. The wind from the moon and the fluttering orchid were also noticed. Upon closer inspection, it was a huge and terrifying monster with long exposed angular teeth. The 5-legged claws resemble several flywheels, purple-black with a big head and gray body, and a pair of wings, especially with fierce eyes, big claws and a long tail dragging the ground. Monsters have strong combat power. The monster lifted its owner and disappeared, it's just missing in place. The takeoff of the wind from the moon lightness skill still requires a process. The speed of this monster is amazing and terrifying. When you blink, the monster disappears like a ray of light. Pia Salon didn't say anything, but thought to herself, oh my. At first, I had to fight this monster, but later I was stopped by Feng Ziyue. Lucky, otherwise, it's possible. I have become this monster now, excrement. The wind opens the cloth from the moon, and what is written on the cloth? When you arrive in Qingyi country, find Kong Fei, who is the left villa leader of Qingyi country. He is also a key figure in the court with power, skilled in magic, martial arts, and the use of chain balls. He is skilled in arranging formations and is his own person. After a good night's rest, the two of them set off neatly dressed and rushed to the city and country to obtain the boundless array map. The city is 2,000 miles away from the Wind and Moon City, and the distance between future dynasties is not very far. The wind rises from the moon, flying faster than modern off-road vehicles at high speeds. Looking back, Pia Salon is missing. The speed of the flying orchid lightness skill is far inferior to that of the wind and moon, which would delay time. The sky is scorching hot like a steamer. Looking at the earth, the trees, flowers, and plants in the jungle, everyone feels low and hot. The river water is also dry, and the small animals running on the ground and the birds flying in the sky are all listless from the heat. The two people were dry-tongued and found a forest clearing, and a big tree to rest on. The wind rested for a while from the moon, went out to search for water sources, and walked along the dry river towards the mountains. It lit up in front of me, shouting, fluttering orchid. Pia Salon was also stunned by the sight when she arrived. This is simply a paradise on earth. In modern terms, it is a 5A scenic area with illegal buildings and small villas. The place we just passed by is two different worlds, where birds sing and flowers are fragrant, and there are many clear rivers that can be seen from the bottom. Various small fish and animals swim in the water. Aquatic water has a musical rhythm that can purify your soul. There are a variety of flowers, plants, and trees, with a faint fragrance. It is a natural large lawn. The wind fluttered from the moon, and lawn happily lay on the ground. Upon closer inspection, it is not correct. The water here circulates on its own and does not flow out. There is a path on the water, which is connected by wooden boards. The wooden board has no support, binding, and is in a strange shape. It doesn't float randomly. Is it for ornamental purposes? If it's really a road, it's impossible to walk. Watching the wilderness here without seeing anyone. Watching the wind from the moon, puzzled. Feng Ziyue was about to go drink water when she suddenly heard a sound, and turned around to see that Pia Salon was nowhere to be seen. Not good, this place is abnormal. I pulled out Feijua and shouted the name Pia Salon along with the voice. Carefully looking around the side of the pond, I saw a large, open area without trees, with several stone houses. The stone roof is very exquisite, with patterns carved on each outer perimeter, beautiful and written. I don't even recognize the wind as the moon approaches, shouting until Pia Salon, shouting several times in a row. No one answered. Pushing open the door, there was no one left. Soaring up the mountaintop, looking down, I saw a particularly large one, colorful flowers. This is the only place special around here. The wind flew over from the moon, and the flowers were moving. With a touch of their hand, the flowers seemed to wake up from sleep and jumped up 10 zhang high. The wind and moon retreated more than 10 steps, and Feijua prepared for battle. The flower's eyes spewed flames, and its two large claws shook left and right. multiple colorful lights rushed towards the wind and moon, and the wind and moon's fire shadow skill leapt into mid-air to dodge. Where the power of this colorful light hits, there is no grass within 3 zhang. The water in the pond sprayed up 5 zhang high, and many large rocks in the pond were crushed into powder by the power of light. At first glance, this monster did not strike the moon. Its large wings trembled, generating an energy storm. The monster also emitted fur, like a sword rain. This kind of monster's hair can penetrate gold plates. Monster energy storms, suddenly blowing the wind from the moon towards the top of the mountain, fell fiercely from the air and was about to land. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Ling Cave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Ling Cave. Feijua formed a tripod and supported his waist, then stood up. With a flick of his finger, the Xuanquan needle was unsheathed. Feng Ziyue uses all his ultimate moves, including the quick battle and decisive fire shadow clone technique. There can be many self-appearances, and monsters cannot distinguish which one is true and which one is fake. Xuanquan's needle pierced fiercely from top to bottom, and the monster dodged. The needle spun back and shone. A true speed rises like a whirlwind, forming a huge halo, directly hit the monster's abdomen. The monster was in unbearable pain and wanted to escape. Wind from the moon. Thunderbolt divine leg skill, continuously kicking monsters with 5 feet, raise the Xuanquan needle and throw it into the air. With a move of gold wire coiled around the root, the needle fiercely pierces the monster's back. When the monster calls out, it still has to run. The wind flew from the moon to the back, grabbing it with flying force, and it stopped moving with a few clicks. Someone shouted to stop. Staring intently inside the cave, 3 people stepped out of the water. They were wild men with big faces and no fur or big feet on their bodies. The nail cap has never been cut before, like an eagle scratching, with curled hair and awkward eyes. Their appearance was extremely vicious, as if someone owed them 10 yuan. The clothes have special colors, red, green, and yellow, with red, green, and yellow lights. Each person carries a chain hammer, weighing 100 pounds. Stepping over with great strides, laughing heartily, you can subdue the eagle beast. This beast belongs to you. Feng Ziyue is eager to find someone. If there is any disturbance there, please forgive me for something else. Goodbye. Ha ha ha, those guys, ha ha ha. Are you going to leave your companions behind? Quickly ask, where is she? One of the people said a few words to the eagle beast, and surprisingly understood it. The fur of eagles looks very similar to goose feathers, as if they have button controls. Feathers automatically grow a batch and turn towards the mountaintop to spread their wings and fly high. A few people led the wind from the moon into the cave. Entering the entrance of the cave, the wind startled the moon, and there were 2 monsters standing on both sides of the cave entrance. Xiang Hu is not a tiger yet. His body can change and contract on its own, and his 4 legs have no claws. There are 3 short tails. He is covered in blue spots and has 4 horns on his head, each of which is of varying length. 2 grow parallel to the upper part of the ear, and 2 grow on the top of the head. The head and 2 ears are like a big fan. The eyes emit a strange light, and the mouth reveals 6 huge teeth. It's very cautious to expose 3 of them from top to bottom. The roar of cloud beasts echoes in the valley. They dare not be reckless with their owners. Shake your tail and walk back and forth. Feng Ziyue deliberately teased the monster. I owe it. The scenery outside the cave is pleasant. Entering the cave is picturesque, and there are actually several residential buildings inside. All of them are suspended without any supports. It's not magic, it's real. There are many small paths under the house, all paved with pine tree towers. The water inside the cave is sprayed out from the rock walls, and there are many fish here that can fly and emit a kind of laughter, much like the voice of a little girl. In the distance, there are large pine forests one after another. Gibbons jump back and forth, and a few people come to the edge of the pine forest. One of the savages pointed to the center of the lake, and a leisure pavilion said, "Let's sit down and chat." How many roads are there to the lake center pavilion? All the pine tree towers were tied with ropes to pave the road. When the wind blows and the water moves, the Pine Tower Road also shakes. Even if an ordinary person goes up, they will fall into the water if they don't walk or stand. These roads are at most 15 centimeters wide, and after one person takes the lead on the road, I walked over effortlessly, the wind blowing and the water moving on the road without moving. As soon as an expert makes a move, they know if there is any, and the other party will have the skill of floating clouds. Feng Ziyue had heard of it before and was stunned for a moment. The wind has flown since the moon's lightness skill, and this is not a war. If someone has a way, you won't leave, and it's not decent to fly. Everyone understands that. They just want to see how Feng Ziyue Gong works. If you're afraid, you can row a boat to Central Lake, and they even prepared a small boat. Can Feng Ziyue lose this person? I have no confidence in my heart, and my face cannot show it. With the use of my foot energy, my body has passed. But the road shakes. There are heavens beyond the sky, and there are people beyond the human world. These savages are among the masters in the martial arts world. Looking at the ferocious and evil appearance, in fact, people are kind-hearted and often eliminate evil and promote good. The martial arts world gave them 3 people, one nicknamed the Spirit Cave 3 monsters. They don't live in ordinary caves, they are one of the top town techniques in the world with the Pine Pagoda formation. In the future, Dian Tian will be trapped and defeated by Songta Town, the eldest Dean Crack, the second Whole Worm, the third White 5, each use a set of chain hammers, and the hidden weapons are modified from pine tree towers. At the same time, it can spray several pine nuts, all made of flying fish scales, which kill without bleeding, and the fish scales are particularly sharp. A few people sat in the pavilion in the lake, and the wind from the moon recounted the passing events. The 3 monsters laughed heartily upon hearing this. The boss of the 3 monsters, Ling, spoke first. Since he came, it was fate. Who is Master Feng Ziyue? Tell the 3 people, they all exclaimed. It turned out to be him. Feng Ziyue didn't understand what it meant. He nodded, and yes, Feng Ziyue had a lot of conversations with San Lao, and he had something on his mind. He wanted to ask directly but was afraid that the other person would be unhappy, so his expression showed. Young Kong Worm, do you have anything to say? Yes, the elderly person. When I just arrived, there was also a companion. I suddenly disappeared outside the cave. May I ask if there was something that offended my senior, trapped somewhere? The 3 elders looked at each other and shook their heads. We didn't see such a woman. Feng Ziyue's heart trembled, and Pia Sa-Lan had an accident. Who had such a big responsibility to capture someone, get up and bid farewell in search of the fluttering orchid, stopped by the 3 monsters. Wait, we searched outside the cave together, but the 4 of us searched several times without any news. San Guai was also puzzled. This person was very reckless and dared to act recklessly here. He knew who was willing to compare themselves. This is the sound of a woman laughing from a distant cave. 3 monsters, you Pine Tree Tower Town, it's too simple, pediatrician. I can easily break through the formation. 4 people used the light leap technique and instantly reached the cave. Who did the 3 monsters call out to? From outside the cave came another message, and the woman burst out laughing. It turns out that your kung fu is so useless. It wasn't until they couldn't even understand the mysterious voice that everyone realized they had been deceived. The laughing woman was not even inside the cave and wanted to use her voice to explain and lure them away, taking advantage of the opportunity to escape. Pine Tree Tower formation is difficult to break through. When everyone comes out, the person is nowhere to be seen. Li, Kong Chong, and Bai Wu know that another duel is inevitable. San Lao said to Feng Ziyue, you don't need to look for friends who come with you. The woman you just introduced walked away with her master, her voice is unmistakable. Shangding, the leader of the Qingfeng sect, Li, Kong Chong, and Bai Wu are absolutely right. It is unknown why they captured Pia Sa-Lan. Feng Ziyue trusts San Guai very much. Since Pia Sa-Lan was captured by her master, there must be no danger to her life. He wants to go alone to the city and country to obtain the Boundless Array map. Farewell to the 3 elders. Where are they going? Go to the city and country. What didn't you tell me? And the other party didn't ask. the three elders knew that if Feng Ziyue and others went to a city or country, they would definitely accomplish great things, and there might be no return. The wind knows from the moon that the king of a city is powerful. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Three Strange Elders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Three Strange Elders. The three monsters are clear and distinct. The king of a city and a country is a sect of cults, and this person has 3 feet, using poison with 3 hands is like a handgun, while using the power of the feet and palms to spray poison. His poison sprayed onto his body, melting people piece by piece. Young People's City is a land of dragons and tigers, so why don't you go there? Feng Ziyue apologized for his kindness and insisted on going. The 3 monsters made eye contact. You can go, not now. Follow us to the cave and have something to say. At the entrance of the cave, the cloud beast bared its teeth against the wind and moon, without any malice, as if it was quite close. The wind is owed by the moon. Still having a conversation with Cloud Beast, I know you have good intentions towards me when you show your teeth, but you won't eat me now. When I relax my guard, you will be eating me, right? Let's have a small sample. Even a 3-year-old child can measure it. Cloud Beast seems to understand human language, and after listening, it burst into laughter. Of course, it's not human laughter, it's like human laughter. After Yun Beast finished laughing, he even gave a glare. The Cloud Beast burst out laughing, but it scared Feng Ziyue so much that he jumped up and muttered, "What the hell?" The Cloud Beast didn't even pay attention and walked away with its tail wagging. The 3 monsters laughed heartily when they saw Feng Ziyue teasing the Cloud Beast. The 4 of them arrived at a long blue stone table next to the pine forest and sat down. Wu also brewed a pot of tea, with a fragrant aroma that made everyone feel happy when smelling it. Drinking tea and chatting happily, Feng Ziyue's stomach growled, and the 3 monsters prepared a sumptuous banquet. Feng Ziyue ignored the 3 or 7 or 20.1, shaking off his cheeks. He started eating with a click, and the 3 monsters took a few more bites at first. Later, watching Feng Ziyue eat so fragrant, I put down my chopsticks and watched him eat. Having eaten and drunk enough, it's already evening. Everyone talks about family matters, and Feng Ziyue thinks to herself, are you keeping me just to chat about family matters? There's no important matter, either. After chatting for a while, it was completely dark. The boss Yinli said, Old Sanbai Wu, take the wind and go rest from the moon. The wind and moon had originally planned to leave, but the dark night road was unfamiliar, so we had to stay for now. I drank too much water during the day and wanted to go to the thatched cottage in the middle of the night. I got up and came out of the stone house. The sky is clear for thousands of miles, and the stars are shining. I see fish flying back and forth in the water. It also has night light, and the wind blows the pine tree tower, emitting a wonderful melody. It's so comfortable. An adult can't pee anywhere anymore. Feng Ziyue saw that the pine forest was quite hidden. I walked in, unbuttoned my belt, and started to pee. If I didn't pee, I could still pee halfway. The entire pine forest moved in an instant, firmly trapping the wind and moon, and the urine was scared away. Following the original path back, I walked for an hour without leaving, unable to distinguish direction in the formation. Use force to knock down one and automatically drill out another. There is also a strange cry, Pine Tree Pagoda. The sound of tolling can control your consciousness. Many people were trapped and possessed by demons, and died. The wind shouted from the moon, but no one answered. All the lightness skills failed to fly, and the branches and leaves of the pine tree can be broken in normal times. As long as the tree branches form a large net at the top of the formation, it will cause excruciating pain when encountering electrification all over the body. The wind from the moon can only find a way to run quickly, without taking a few steps to crack the ground, all of which are traps with water inside. Many fish spit out in the water, and the water does not come out of the line, it's water droplets, and the wind quickly dodges from the moon's shadow movement. When it sees the water droplets hitting the area, the stone breaks, and the trees break into powder. the wind dodged back and forth from the moon, discovered a small bridge, saw hope, and used a beam of light to clone onto the small bridge, gasping for breath from exhaustion, holding onto a pier-like structure. I wanted to sit and rest for a while, but little did I know that my butt had not yet touched the pier-like structure. With a click, the bridge cracked open, a huge fish flew up from the water on the bridge, carrying a strong wind. The tail of the fish patted against the wind and the moon, and it was sure to die. The wind was startled by the moon, and its essence and spirit were revived with full blood. It rubbed and jumped onto the head of the fish. There are 12 ways of boxing, with a series of punches with a wave of hands and fists. The punches contain true qigong, and each punch weighs 300 pounds. Normally, with a fierce punch, a cow has to fly 3 zhang away, hitting the monster fish without any effect. The punch can bounce back like a bouncy ball. The most infuriating thing is that the strange fish's body is slippery with flowing light, and the wind and moon cannot hold it, making it unstable to stand. Angry, I shouted at you, unscrupulous businessman. Who developed this monster? Unable to concentrate, the strange fish's tail trembled and slapped the wind 6 feet high from the moon. Oh my God! My butt is blossoming. As soon as Feng Ziyue closed her eyes, she must have fallen half to death. Where did she fall? Why is she still so soft? Lying down is quite comfortable, and when Mao fixed his eyes, he even looked at himself with a pair of eyes. The other person was very proud. The meaning is, you see, Feng Ziyue has also been beaten sometimes, right? It was the eagle beast that caught him. Thank you, Feng Ziyue. Could you please use the navigation to send me out? Is it okay to pay on delivery? The eagle beast understood and nodded, but did not send it out. Instead, it flew over the pine forest and whistled to the wind and moon, heading towards you. Throwing the wind from high altitude into another pine forest from the moon, the wind of anger is coming out from the moon's fart, shouting, "You're a hawk beast, not as good as a beast, not honest, navigation error, payment upon delivery of goods and personnel, and package transfer midway." The treacherous merchant eagle, I will come back again. The eagle beast doesn't listen to your way of doing things, goes its own way, flies away, and goes to find a beautiful and elegant lady. The great ape monkey has gone for fun. Once again trapped in the formation, this time the wind stopped rushing through the moon and sat on the ground using artistic conception to break through. The pine tree formation consists of 55 formations, with 16 directions. Among them, 7 tree pine towers fall to the ground, breaking through the formation of the Big Dipper star map. The wind has gained enlightenment from the moon, with 6 pine pagodas in several positions. The formation in front of him suddenly breaks, revealing the direction of the cave entrance and 3 monsters waiting for him. I walked along the road and disappeared in front of the 3 monsters. Looking down, I saw my body sinking in the center of the water. There is a huge layer of hot air, blowing the wind 3 zhang away from the moon and throwing it back into the pine forest. It was a confusing illusion just now. Feng Ziyue was restless, with a mouthful of hot blood spraying out and fainting on the ground. After a few minutes, she slowly woke up. He is thinking about what is the last one on the 7-star chart. Picking up a pine pagoda and throwing it out, the water splashed layer by layer, and the fish jumped. Then, thinking about whether it was safe to splash the orchid, Pia Salon appeared and walked with a smile. The wind knows from the moon that it is an illusion and has also comprehended the method of solving it. The 7th pine tower is the love in the heart. Evil, hypocrisy, vanity, and recklessness, even with high martial arts skills, cannot escape. This is a pure, inclusive, and loving formation. The wind walked out of the pine forest formation from the moon, and my mood suddenly became clear. The energy surged and absorbed the true chi of the pine tower. The cloud beast flew up to Feng Ziyue's side, wagging its tail, rubbing its head against its body and sticking out its tongue, licking Feng Ziyue's hand as a gesture of goodwill. Sangwai laughed heartily and walked over. The young man is doing well. It has been 40.3 years, and only you have understood the true meaning of breaking through the formation. Boss Li is holding hands with Feng Ziyue. Come and come, I'll show you. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Star Array Diagram. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 9. Star Array Diagram. Something, walk to the pond, press the bridge pier 3 times, the lake was magically split in 2, and the 4 of them followed the stairs into the water. The surface of the lake automatically recovered. This is a huge underground city, with carvings on the sides and top of the walls, many totems of different sizes, as well as a lot of text. A star formation map is created on the entire ground, with an eye in the middle position, shining down on the dungeon, like daylight. I saw a rope in the picture, which looked familiar to me. Feng Ziyue, I have seen this real rope before. And the 3 elders were very surprised. Where did you see it? Who is holding it? Feng Ziyue recounted what had happened in Wujing courtyard. It was a child wearing a tattered robe and riding a monster in tattered grass shoes. After listening to the sound of crying, the 3 monsters were filled with loud, sad, and happy voices. The wind has been shrouded in circles since the moon, and the 3 elders have grown old. Suddenly, they have gone crazy, crying and laughing. The 3 elders burst out laughing again and said, "The young man is not a child, it looks like a child, but actually that person is over 100 years old. Your master and uncle are both junior in front of him. He is the holy master of Hongda martial arts, and he will not harm anyone unless there is a particularly evil person who will take action. His martial arts are unparalleled, and his disciples include the leader of Qingfeng sect, the leader of Xianyuan sect, and the 3 of us. There is also a disciple who closes the door. We have heard of him, but we have never seen him before. I don't know who he is." San Guai is happy that his master is still alive and well. It's been a long time since San Guai saw his master. Feng Ziyue was surprised after hearing this. The 3 monsters explained the dungeon, patterns, and text to Feng Ziyue, and the 3 elderly people devoted themselves to teaching him a complete set of martial arts skills for the Phoenix Beast, totaling 82 moves. It can be displayed with a needle. Each move has unique changes, and both offense and defense are complete. The wind and moon rest for less than 3 hours every day, while the rest of the time is spent diligently practicing, improving physical agility and attack strength. Making significant progress day after day, the body leaped faster than the speed of the eagle beast, and the object was extinguished in the air with 3 zhang of skill. Under the guidance of the 3 elders, Feng Ziyue learned art for the 2nd time. The 3 elderly people did not take the wind off and became disciples of Ziyue, always treating him as elders. After 3 months of basic learning, 3 elderly people called the wind from the moon to their side in the morning. Feng Ziyue showcases what he has learned once. The 3 elders nodded repeatedly and were very satisfied. The cloud beast also ran over, wagging its tail and spinning around Feng Ziyue. In fact, Feng Ziyue quite likes cloud beast, and the 3 elderly people also saw it and decided to give it to him as a gift. From then on, the cloud beast has been accompanying the wind and moon, traveling north and south, experiencing love, hatred, hypocrisy, and treacherous traps. The wind bid farewell to the 3 elderly people one by one from the moon, rode on the cloud beast and flew up into the clouds, heading straight to the city and country to obtain the boundless great Dharma formation. It's easy for him to go to the city alone, but the key is that the cloud beast is too conspicuous. The cloud beast is as big as a cow. After Feng Ziyue applied makeup to the cloud beast, he held it with a rope and hung 2 iron rings on his big teeth. When others ask, they say it's a rare animal, and it's just that cows are ugly. After entering the city, it was too bustling here, with all kinds of daily necessities, as well as setting up a stage to sing, playing tricks and performing arts, and shouting at small vendors on the streets. There are many brothels and casinos here. Isn't there anyone in the government to manage them? Feng Ziyue led the cloud beast for a leisurely stroll, passing by the entrance of a brothel and watching a group of officials and soldiers wearing official uniforms, shouting and hugging in the brothel hall, indulging in extravagance and drinking. Many shopkeepers are flattering on the side. Feng Ziyue passed by a brothel and saw a soldier running in to report something. Quickly, those officials left and headed straight for the casino not far ahead. Approaching the casino entrance, there were several ordinary farmers who carried the burden of selling food. Their clothes were very old, with patches on them, and they were very poor, struggling to support their families. Those officials, without saying a word, stepped forward and kicked all the things in the boxes, flipping them over and cursing in their mouths. Damn it, did you pay his mother protection fee? Dare to sell here, 2 people come forward to reason, you've smashed our things, we'll sue you. Those people burst into laughter. Open your dog eyes, and see who we are. We are people from the government. You go there to sue, and after you finish speaking, you burst out laughing. There was a chubby black man who was the leader, waving his hand and grinning his teeth, and crossing his waist, saying, go tell them a few rules. Without saying a word, the subordinate soldiers picked up a large wooden stick and fiercely attacked these 5 people. 2 people were beaten to death by wooden sticks on the spot. Those 3 people were severely injured and crawled begging for mercy. The official snorted and said, I can spare you. Today, I'm happy and left all the silver in your pockets, so I let you go, which few people were forced to reluctantly hand over all the hard-earned silver to the officials. The official looked very disdainful at first glance, and everyone kicked hard a few more times. It's really unlucky to take such a little money. Before leaving, you all listen and shout loudly. Anyone who pays protection fees in advance and doesn't pay will end up like this. Let's go drink, laugh and walk away. Feng Ziyue could kill them with just a flick of his finger, but he endured it again. He couldn't reveal his identity yet, and there were still important things to do. Local onlookers dare not speak out. Who can provoke the government? Everyone dispersed, and Feng Ziyue walked forward, taking pills for the injured and pulling out a large piece of silver. Instruct the 3 people to arrange the aftermath of those 2 people who died, buy some food and clothing for your family and bring back the remaining silver. After explaining, Feng Ziyue found a small shop at the corner of the back street to stay in, which was not easily discovered by others. There are many people riding horses, cows, and camels here, and the shop owner is not surprised to see the cloud beast. I thought it was another breed of cattle, but it was a bit unsightly. Cloud beasts can eat or not, as they possess the true energy of heaven and earth. Feng Ziyue came to Qianjie and found a big restaurant to have a good meal. After getting hungry, he came to Dufuka restaurant, looking clean and tidy. I ordered a few dishes and a little wine, just took a few bites. A person came in wearing a white outfit, with a medium-sized physique and facial features that could be seen, carrying a needle weapon on their back. Feng Ziyue touched her own needle, but who is the other party? It was at noon that the restaurant was crowded, and only Feng Ziyue had a table across from him. The person sat down. After ordering a pot of tea and drinking water, 3 more people walked in and walked towards the man in white. Young master, we have thoroughly investigated the boundless array diagram and are preparing to steal it in the next few days. The man in white turned around and whispered, don't say anything for now. In case there are government officials, we will trouble to order food first. Those few people are eating so deliciously, and this table is full of wind. It's about the boundless great Dharma formation. He couldn't eat any more and secretly observed a few people, each dressed very similar to himself. In order to clarify the facts, the wind followed them closely as the moon rose from the restaurant, and they strode in at the entrance of a mansion. Portrait of Chaoyuan Gate plaque, outside of this manor set. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Heart Demon Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Heart Demon Technique. At first glance, they are all grand and imposing, with a large stone lion gate at the entrance, a high and wide platform, and a red painted gate. The courtyard wall is 3 zhang high and covers at least 100 acres of land. The entrance is heavily guarded. This type of manor is 100% official corruption, illegal development and construction, illegal construction of underground roads. So what? Their name is Jinsao Garden, and there is a big tiger protecting them. Can't they dismantle it? Feng Ziyue also carried a needle on her back, with a body size similar to that of the person in front, and swaggered along the entrance to enter the hospital. The guards saw the weapon, but the needle didn't stop them. They said, hello, young master, why are you going out for a while? It seems like you've lost some weight. Please come on, please. Where did Feng Ziyue know? This is a trap and strategy. In the end, with the help of a master, he was able to survive, otherwise he would have died. Entering the lair of the dragon pool and tiger, experiencing a fierce battle of murder. Entering the entrance of the mansion, there is a dedicated person guiding the direction. As you walk, you can see that it is too big. There are only 2 artificial lakes available for boating, and a fountain pool on the top of the rockery. There is also a hunting ground where there are wild boars, deer, and elephants. Inside the iron cage, there are tigers, lions, and leopards bared their teeth and pointed mouths, looking at the wind and moon not pleasing to the eye. Various exotic flowers and plants are planted in the courtyard, and precious fish swim around in the water. There are various houses, and the servant leads the wind from the moon through 3 main halls, each of which is different. There is a dedicated mountain of gold, silver, and jewelry piled up, and a rare animal specimen in the main hall. Later on, it became clear that this was built by collusion between officials and businessmen with unscrupulous money. As soon as I entered the main hall, I saw the man in white chatting with a few people with a needle on his back. The master waved his hand and all the servants withdrew. At around 50 years old, the master had a kind face and didn't look like a villain. He stepped forward to welcome the wind and moon with great strides. Feng Ziyue thinks that I don't have any acquaintances here. They seem to have been puzzled by me for many years. The host introduced them one by one and walked up to the young man with the needle on his back. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled slightly. The other party spoke up and answered, "Junior brother, I am the disciple of Kunding Needle Saint Ancestor." Feng Ziyue suddenly realized that his master had said that his senior uncle had an apprentice who was about the same age as him. "I have never met my name Dong Ping." Feng Ziyue respectfully greets his senior brother. "Why is he here?" The owner of Chaoyuan is a business owner to the outside world, and his true identity can influence the battle situation. His power is very great, and very few people know about it. Mr. Chao warmly entertained everyone and was meticulous in his work. "I have arranged for Feng Ziyue, a luxurious villa is resting." Dong Ping also lives not far away, making communication convenient. Chao Yuanwei carried a cane with him and never saw anyone without him. He didn't smile or speak. He often provides relief to the people and is a famous philanthropist from 100 miles away. After drinking and eating, everyone chatted for a while and went back to their rooms to rest. The wind from the moon also has a feeling of fatigue, and there is a small hot spring in the residence. After taking a bath, the whole body feels comfortable and ready to rest. Someone gently knocks on the door. Dong Ping came in happily. Feng Ziyue hurriedly said hello, and the 2 of them started chatting and laughing. Feng Ziyue asked, "Senior brother, I heard you come to retrieve the boundless Great Dharma map at the restaurant. How is the progress? Do you need me to help you take the picture together?" Dong Ping stood up and opened the door, looking left and right for no one to eavesdrop, explaining his background. "Follow the orders of the teacher to obtain the formation diagram and do everything possible to prevent the disaster from happening." Feng Ziyue had a cunning mind. He had heard of Dong Ping but had never been in contact with him, and he didn't know what the true purpose of this person was. "Tell the other party that you are traveling by and happen to pass by a city or a country." Dong Ping said, "It's great. Let's take the map together. Now, we have discovered the formation and placed it at the king's mansion. We need to investigate the specific location." Feng Ziyue heard that this king is one of the sect leaders of the cult, and we need to be more vigilant to make good use of poison. Dong Ping laughed heartily. "The king of the city will not harm us." Feng Ziyue feels like there's something wrong with her words. Without much thought, he just chuckled along. Dong Ping also talked incessantly about the origin of the king of the city. The fox's fate in the west, and it is said that he was transformed by a monster in the mountains, unable to verify, with 3 legs and 3 hands. The cult uses a lot of poison and is extremely cruel, using a large stick. There are several poisonous darts hidden inside the stick, and it's not good to ambush them. Hu Yuanxi's wife and concubines are cruel and ruthless in groups, often killing people and kicking their heads like balls. He is the leader of his cult, 30 miles away from the city, in the depths of the Fox Solitary Peak. There are many disciples of the demon cult. Fox Yuanxi often goes to Fox Solitary Peak to practice the heart demon technique. This method can control the pure land of a person's heart, and those who emphasize the magic of the heart, it will immediately turn into a monster head, with wolf fangs and a wild boar mouth, and yellow-green poisonous light in its eyes. Fingernails that grow sharper than sharp knives on the palms and soles of the feet are also poisonous. Hu Yuanxi was ambitious and wanted to dominate the martial arts world, so he sent people to steal the boundless Great Dharma formation and use its power to control other factions. Kong Fei's martial arts function is in opposition to the Fox's fate in the West, and he is not afraid of being restrained by poisonous forces. Kong Fei and Hu Yuanxi were enemies a long time ago. Originally, Qingyigua was a peaceful and happy small town with prosperous families. Suddenly one day, Hui Wangxi came howling in the black wind with a demonic aura, searching for young people everywhere, catching them to extract true qi and practicing martial arts. The local area suddenly turned into a hell on earth with countless deaths and injuries, and the entire sky was shrouded in black clouds. Hu Yuanxi killed the original king, and the palace beheaded him from top to bottom, throwing him into the air. Black Cloud opened his bloodthirsty mouth and sucked everyone's heads. Someone saw at night in the palace that the fox Margin appeared in its original form, a terrifying monster soul, wandering in the palace hall, accompanied by many souls, speak with a cold voice and laughter. In order to cultivate the heart demon technique, Hu Yuanxi often kills people and takes their hearts out. He wants the demon cultists to capture many young people every day, escort these people to the fox's solitary peak cave, trap them, release the fierce beasts, and everyone desperately struggles to escape. Hu Yuanxi used the heart demon technique to shake his hands and feet towards everyone who was running away. His eyes and mouth emitted a black-purple aura at the same time. Those people were instantly stripped of their skills, and each person's heart and brain were sucking on them. There are 5 major protectors next to Hu Yuanxi, and the soul collecting formation with 5 people is quite impressive. Many martial arts experts have died in this formation. There is also a struggle within the cult, and the 5 guardians have swept away all obstacles for the Fox Margin West. Fox Fate West colludes with the West. Several demonic sects unite, with the ambition to conquer the planet and become the hegemon. The boundless array diagram can achieve their goals. Kong Fei is also a native of the city and has loved martial arts since childhood. His parents sent him to Nanliang Ridge to study under Zhang Liuli. Zhang Liuli's identity and abilities are on par with Kunding's Needle Saint ancestor. Kong Fei has been learning martial arts for 18 years, and the poison avoidance skill can guard against severe poisons. Shortly after returning to the city, the Fox Fate attacked from the west, and the two fought for 300 rounds without any division. Even if they fought like this, it wouldn't be like having long hair. Kong Fei demanded a negotiated solution, and ultimately decided to withdraw the Fox Fate Western Demon Law and not kill the people of his own court. Hu Yuanxi requested Kong Fei to assist him, and Kong Fei agreed to monitor him while considering the safety of the people. Kong Fei has only seen the boundless Great Dharma formation once, but he is too suspicious of the Fox Origin West. Don't trust anyone, hide the formation there, outsiders. End of this chapter.